Welcome to Chapter 9 of my ethical hacking. This is my study material for wireless technologies, mobile security, and attacks. In this chapter, we are looking at types of wireless systems, describe wireless LANs, how to secure them, differences between our encryption types of WEP, WPA, and WPA2, understanding some of the wireless hacking tools. So let's talk about a brief history of wireless technologies. So wireless could include things such as satellite TV, cordless phones, cellular phones, and other mobile devices. So hacking and jailbreaking and pretty much doing something with your phone that wasn't intended, we could be doing things like jailbreaking. That's where we get an operating system or be able to root the phone so that we can access more of the features than what the manufacturer wanted us to do. Three Musketeer attack, if we're dealing with satellite TV, eavesdropping for cordless phones. Mainly we're focusing on cellular phones and mobile devices. We could look at the geolocation. That's a big exploit, looking at the location of the phone. Malware on the mobile device as well. Those are all big ones. So if we're looking at Android specifically, we could be looking at malware as well as hacking tools such as like DroidSheep. DroidSheet is a Android app for security analysis. It looks at wireless networks and it captures things like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and other accounts. Another common one is like FaceSniff, and this is another Android app that allows you to sniff and intercept web session over Wi-Fi. We can keep going through all of the different tools, but again, these are all looking at hacking tools for the Android OS. Moving on to the Apple's iOS, we have jailbreaking tools. A big one is Cinda, and that's actually a directory of tools and application that you can use. Moving on could be Windows phones, whether they be Windows 8 or Windows 10. Again, Windows phones do happen to have a little bit more layers of security, not impenetrable though. We have Blackberries. Again, some of the hacking tools are going to be like Phone Snoop or Bugs and Kisses. Because all of these technologies use Bluetooth, we actually have the ability to do bluejacking attacks and blue snarfing attacks. A common question is, what is blue snarfing? Blue snarfing is unauthorized access of info from a wireless device through a Bluetooth connection. And that's different from bluejacking because bluejacking is the sending of unsolicited messages over Bluetooth to other Bluetooth-enabled devices. So moving on is our wireless LANs. Wireless LANs are going to be mainly focusing on the 802.11 standard developed by IEEE in the mid to late 90s. So some wireless basics, we have two major types. We have ad hoc and we have infrastructure. Ad hoc is more of a peer-to-peer or device-to-device. There is no centralization. While infrastructure, there is centralization. Everyone connects to a access point and we connect through resources through that access point. Ad hoc, we actually just connect between our wireless adapters with no centralization at all. Common forms of wireless is going to be 802.A, B, G, N. We have a current standard AC. We have another version of 802.11n as well. That's our 5 gigahertz range. But this is always kind of important because depending on the wireless standard, you're going to get different speeds and different specific frequencies depending on that standard. I've already prepared videos for DSS and FHSS and OFDM, all the other forms of spectrum technologies, but each technology has its specific key points. So DSSS, it divides the streams of information into small manageable chunks of data called bits. Frequency hopping, it uses subchannels. And the last one, our OFDM, is a form of multiplexing. Again, we're using smaller subsignals to send them over different frequencies. A big one is wireless security. How does WEP differ from WPA and WPA2? So WEP uses a 64-bit or 128-bit key, but it only uses 40 or 104-bit are randomized, meaning either the shared key or the key mapping methods should be able to be easily cracked. We found that that was easily done, so we got a WPA standard, which this uses a temporary key identity protocol, or TKIP. It will use a different secret key for each packet. This also implements message integrity checking, or Mike, called Michelle. WPA2 builds on some of the lacking security for WPA. This was known as 802.11i. It uses AES, and the keys are quite larger than the other two. Now, by no means are these safe. Realistically, you should be able to break into wireless using WPA, WPA2, WEP within, 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes, depending on the character length for your key. Common threats for our wireless could be like war chalking, war driving, war flying, eavesdropping. So war chalking, that's where you find an open Wi-Fi and you draw the appropriate diagram to notify those around you. War driving, you drive around looking for open Wi-Fi. War flying, same thing. But with war flying, I wouldn't say a plane. I'm going to go more with like a drone. That's becoming more and more common. Eavesdropping, this only requires a wireless sniffer, and that means you just have to be within range of this wireless signals. Even if the network or the network traffic is encrypted, we can actually use encryption tools to decrypt the passwords, thus getting us access to the data packets. So, some other wireless LAN threats. That's open authentication. That's open Wi-Fi that uses no attacks or using no password, so it's easy to attack or to bypass. We could have rogue access points. Those are access points that may be real, maybe not be real. They could be unauthorized. We could also be doing some type of DOS attack, things like authentication, deauthentication, or even just jamming. A real big fun one is deauthentication. Even if you are not connected to the network, you can actually force the access point to deauthenticate all connected devices. So, part of our wireless hacking tools, first of all, is discover our Wi-Fi networks. We could be using things like AeroPeak. We could be using things like NetSembler, other items as well. A lot of these wireless hacking tools are pre-built into Kali for us. We could be looking at doing GPS mapping, basically being able to hijack a phone or hijack devices so that we can actually map locations of devices. Next, wireless traffic analysis. We're normally going to be using some type of like Wireshark or OmniPeak to analyze the traffic. That's going to be wire or wireless, doesn't really matter. So, let's get into the launching our wireless attack. Normally, we're going to be looking at a few tools. We're going to be looking at AirCrack. And this is one of the major tools built into Kali, and this is used for auditing wireless networks. We're going to be looking at things like AeroDump, AirPlay, AirCrack, and AirDecap. Those are going to be the big ones. We also have things like Void 11, which is also a penetration utility, but more often than not, AirCrack is going to be the one that we use because it's built into Kali and already ready for us. If we're looking at just cracking and compromising wireless networks, we'll probably be looking at AirSnort. It's a Linux-based wireless web cracking tool, and that it can be used to recover encryption keys. Here we're focusing on just web. So AirSnort's not going to be good if you're using WPA type tools. So how do we defend against this? Honestly, encryption, limited access, maybe even MAC filtering, physical security, maybe the placement of the access points, strong authentication, changing the passwords quite often, also looking at different layers of security, not just a single layer, changing the SID to something other than the default one, maybe even telling this access point not to broadcast a SID. That's more unrealistic, but I mean, it's there. Enabling MAC filtering. If you have a small enough wireless network, MAC filtering works. But if you have a big network, MAC filtering is not going to be realistic. Using better level encryption like WPA and WPA2. The goal here, use the highest level of encryption that is supported by your devices. If you have the ability to use WPA2, but your devices are only WPA, well, you're stuck using WPA. Okay, we're almost done. We have to talk about site survey, and we have to talk about other wireless authentication. So, site surveys, 6 basic steps. Get a diagram, visually inspect it, identify user areas, determine primary access locations, verify the signal strength, range, and maybe possible interference, document. Site surveys, basically, you're going to find the optimal location for your access points. For our wireless authentication, if we're using just WPA, WPA2, maybe look at higher level passwords, maybe even digital certificates, maybe even look at authentication through radius. We could also do things like EAP with transport layer security or tunnel layer security, all depending on what type of protection you're going to need. Misuse and detection, that's always a big one, because we could have rogue access points, we could have evil twins, we could have a lot of wireless type devices. We should be monitoring monitoring our air traffic, monitoring our signals. We could actually even look at like Snort Wireless to make sure that we don't have any unsuspecting wireless devices that we don't know about. And that was wireless hacking in a small nutshell. Watch some of the lab videos to cover how to actually crack Wi-Fi, but for the concepts, this was a good start.